So let's talk about a case study of the recent transaction that I did. Now, a lot of times I'm not going to tell many people about details about properties, and I'm not going to give a lot of names about who bought what or anything. But I do want to let, potential buyers and potential clients know how things work, because sometimes I think a lot of people get nervous and they don't know that the process is a little bit more detailed, a little harder than most transactions. And I put a lot of thought into helping clients so that I can figure out what they're looking for, what their goals are, and help them get to the finish line. So I'm going to tell you the transaction that happened recently was about a couple who had just recently been married, and they were about a year into their marriage, and they were very afraid to buy. They were very afraid that they couldn't afford to buy a home. And I knew that they had some limited funds, and I knew that, but I also knew that I could negotiate things for these buyers. And there was a lot of houses out there, a lot of sellers that are desperate to sell. And so what we did is that we ended up finding an area in San Antonio that had the lowest taxes, but still a nice area. Okay. So that's what I did is I looked around to see what was the best area. Now, keep in mind, they did tell me where they wanted to be at, which was close to like the Alamo Ranch area where they like. And so I was able to find, kind of close into that area where taxes were lower and find some communities in there that were pretty reasonable when it came to taxes. And I was the one that did the research to find those. So once I narrowed it down, what they were looking for, what it was that they were trying to find, and that, it took some research. I'm going to the MLS, I'm calling different sellers or sellers agents to find out who's going to do what. Now, at this point, I don't have any time to waste. Okay. So I got to call people ahead of time and find out, are the sellers willing to do closing costs of this much money or that much money? So I already know the number because I already talked to the lender, and the lender's already told me how much money I need to try to get for them. The lender's already come up with some kind of assistance program to help them come up with the other rest of the money. So that was something that we were working on together to help them get a lot of their closing costs and down payment paid for. Okay. So my job now was to find the sellers that were willing to do pretty close to maybe eight, maybe nine, maybe $10,000. So now I had to go digging around to find those homes. But I also need to keep in mind, what are they looking for? What was the area that they were looking for? What was the neighborhood? What was the size of the house? That kind of thing. So I did the homework in going and looking for these houses, calling every house to find out what seller was willing to do what. Okay. If a seller said, no, I'm not going to pay anything, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to pay the commission, whatever, then we move on. We find another home. Okay. And so we narrowed it down to 3 houses, and we saw the 3 houses. We narrowed it down from 3 to 2, and then we negotiated with both. I sent offers to both of the houses to see who would be working with us the most. Okay. And so what ended up happening is that one house, that was a one story, actually worked with us the most. And it gave us the most benefit because they ended up replacing the roof. They had a brand new roof. The house was plumbed for a water softener. They taking care of the AC, and the AC was actually in excellent condition. And so many things that were done. Plus, on top of getting all the closing costs, I was able to negotiate a really high-end home warranty so that they were covered for at least that first year on their house. And we went into the walkthrough on the house, and the house was just so nice. I mean, it was like they had great windows, tile, everything. I mean, the house was just like one of those houses that was just ready to move into. All they need to do is they can paint it the way they want to paint it, or add whatever little upgrades they want. But it took the work to find that house. It took the work to do the research. It took the work to finally get to them, to getting all the monies they needed, to finding the seller that was willing to work with them, from me doing the research to finding that seller so that we could see, okay, are they willing to work with us? And we didn't put just one offer, we put 2 offers to see who would give them the better deal. Okay. And so it turned out to be an awesome deal. And at the end of the day, when they ended up closing, they ended up putting $2,400 of earnest money, but they ended up getting back almost $900 back. So they really didn't have a lot of money out of pocket. So it was like, and in it, of course, their payments were so reasonable. It was just as much as what they were paying on rent. But now they have a house of their own, a great little house with a backyard, 2-car garage, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I mean, you couldn't ask for more. So it was just an awesome little situation. But the thing is those kind of things do happen when you have a good realtor who's going to do the research, who's going to do the work to find that for you, not just go and show you whatever house and hope that you just take it. I mean, we did look at some new homes. We did look at some areas. We did that, and we just kind of narrowed down until we found the perfect house for them. So, so it took some work to get there. And this wasn't something that just happened in 30 days. I mean, I've been working with this buyer and her fiance at the time for a little over a year and a half. But it was finally right for them, and they decided they wanted to take a chance. And so they came on board, and we were able to find the programs and everything we needed to do. And I was able to find the seller who was perfect to work with them, and we got it done. So it takes a lot more than just, you're just getting in the car and you find the house and you're in the house in 30 days. I mean, it does take a lot more. And some of these transactions will take sometimes 2 years, sometimes, because it depends on how long you've been following up with the buyer and trying to make sure that they understand that there is possibility to make this happen. So, but yeah, this is the case study of this property, and they are super happy. This is their first home, and I hope to be following up with them for years to come. Maybe when they have their little baby and they are deciding they wanted to go to maybe a newer house or a bigger house. But this is a young couple that I really, really enjoyed working with. Very great little couple. So, but anyway, that's a case study. If you have any questions about anything, you can always reach out to me. This is Gina Garcia. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.